Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to day 32 out of 40 of our Consistently Creative Challenge. We have 1 week left after this, really just a few days because we're taking a break for the holiday. I'm so glad that you're here today and listening to this. Hi, my name is Dija Renuka. I'm an actor and a filmmaker, and for the past 20 years, I've been creating and teaching art programming to underserved youth. And I wanted to do this challenge for myself, honestly, to get myself in a habit about talking about the things that I think about a lot and kind of challenging myself by doing most of these live. I do pre-record if I had a doctor's appointment or something like that, allowing myself that grace so I can be consistent. And we're gonna dive into that today. Today, I want to talk to you about the 6 reasons why you are not consistent. So let's dive right in because I know that you want to be consistent. I know that you want to get projects done. I know that this is something that you've been working on. And because it's something I've been working on, praying about, trying to be better at. I have learned a lot through this challenge, and I just want to summarize some of the reasons why I think that you and me, we are not consistent. One is you haven't just practically carved out time in your schedule to do the thing. So there's one frustration where you're thinking all the time, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you really just need to sit down and carve out time in your schedule and be very specific, like put it on your schedule and show up to it. And once you do that, you're developing a container to hold what it is that you want to create. So you're giving yourself time to actually just think, explore, research, do the thing, have the meetings, whatever it is, you need to make time on your schedule instead of just having it this thing in your mind that you would like to do. When you carve out time on your schedule, that is a huge step for making space to be consistent. Number 2, you haven't planned out the thing that you're going to do in the time that you've carved out, and therefore you're not productive. So, one big thing that I've learned is even though I may carve out the time, sometimes I'll spend the time sitting there thinking, well, what am I supposed to do for this time? How am I supposed to be most productive? And then the time is going while you're trying to figure out what to do with the time. So, one of the days that you carve out, you need to take that time and figure out what you want to do, create a plan. So, when you show up to your time, you know this, you can just get right to work. And that's another reason that you're not consistent, is because you're sitting there trying to figure out what to do, and then you start playing all these psychological games. Oh no, the time's running out. Oh no, I can't actually do this. And you just kind of get discouraged and negative. And so I would encourage you to take the time and plan out what you're going to do, and then take a few minutes at the end of every session and figure out what you're going to do next time, so that you can get moving and get working and be productive when you actually sit down to work. The next reason you're not consistent is because you don't trust the process, so you don't show up. What I'm saying is that it's very easy, and we all have done this, to be really excited in the beginning of something, but then over time, your energy wanes, or you get discouraged, or you just don't feel like you're making progress. But you really need to be able to trust the process, meaning if you keep showing up, that you will keep making progress. And I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the video when we talk about the creative process and what actually happens every time you create. Some of this stuff is really normal. It's normal to feel frustrated. It's normal to hit a block. It's normal to, when they say writer's block, to me, I really think that you just need more time to do research, or you need a little time to let your subconscious work. But there's certain things in the creative process that are very normal to all of us. And if you can trust the process and keep showing up, I know that you'll get where you need to go. I learned this lesson when I was making handmade cards, and I have a lot of handmade card videos and crafting videos on this channel that you can go back and watch. But one thing I learned from crafting for all those years is that if I keep at working up the design, I'll eventually get it. Even if I just step away for an hour and come back, I always 100% of the time figured out what I wanted to make. And that was at a time before Pinterest. It was when I was creating my own designs and creating the steps to make something that I wanted. I had to figure it out. I didn't have instructions. I just kept working at it. And that taught me a lesson as I moved forward into my dream of filmmaking. I learned that if I keep working at something, I'll eventually get it. And so I want to encourage you to trust the process and just keep showing up. The next reason that you're not consistent is really important is you forgot that life happens. So you didn't plan in life. One thing with this consistency challenge is that I was very intentional about making sure I put breaks in. I could have said, I'm going to make videos 40 days, including Saturday and Sundays, but I know that I need to rest. I know that I want time with my family. I know that I need time to think. I needed to give myself space to think and come up with what I wanted to say and allow space for God to work. I wanted to challenge myself to show up and let God speak. That's just a desire that I had. I can't explain it. It doesn't really make logical sense, but I just had this desire to be able to just show up and let him use me. As my friend always says, let him use you. I wanted to create that space. I've been really glad I did. I created space for the holidays because this is through the holiday season. And I created space before Christmas and after Christmas because we have to prep for Christmas and like I want to rest the day after the hustle and bustle of the holidays. I was able to stay way more consistent than I thought I could just because I built in those things. So for you, when you're trying to build in stuff, really think about your schedule. Do you have work projects coming up? So give yourself an extra day of not working on your creative project, which I know sounds weird. Or look at it. There's holidays and birthdays and you need to exercise and you need to rest and you just need some time to think. So plan those in so that you can be consistent. It really makes a difference. And then you don't feel bad or you feel guilty, things like that if you miss. It's just like if you're making a workout schedule and you need to plan rest days, you need to plan cheat days, because this is the only way that you can actually be consistent when you know that you can have these little mini breaks or times to rest and reflect. And that's what we did in this habit tracker is you have days to rest, to catch up and to reflect on what you've been doing. The next reason that you're not consistent is because you just got too precious with the process. You got too focused on it. You're taking everything personal. So one thing with being consistent means you need to be able to step back and think about how you're thinking. And I think this is called metacognition, when we as humans have this ability to step back and say, why am I thinking this way? Like yesterday, we talked about distraction. So if you're showing up, you're doing everything, and you realize that you're always distracted, you can step back and say, well, why am I distracted? Okay, it's because I feel like I'm not good enough at something. And what can I do about that? I asked my son that question, how we were doing as parents, helping him feel like he's good enough to do things. And he said, yeah, sometimes I feel that way, but I remedy it by start taking action towards getting better at something. And I thought, wow, that's true, because sometimes I'll just sit around and think about how I can't do something instead of taking action to figure out how I can do something. And so I want to encourage you the same way, is to not be so judgmental and harsh on yourself. If you're writing something and you feel like this is terrible, but you have to understand that this is resistance trying to show up, because it doesn't matter if it's terrible. You can always edit it and rewrite it. And you understand that the part of your brain for being creative in the flow is different than the editor part of your brain. So if you're writing and you understand how you're thinking, you can say, no, I cannot go into the editing part of my brain because it's not time. And that you just understand this is just how it's working. I'm in the flow, I'm writing, and you can just let it pass because it's not a threat. It's not actually a real threat when the editor side of your brain comes in and is like, you forgot a comma there. So what? I'm in the writing flow right now and I'm in the creative flow, and I'll do editing, which I plan to do at the end of the week. So we're going to keep writing. Okay. The last reason that you're not consistent is because you don't trust yourself. You haven't built credibility with yourself. When I learned about this topic, it was so eye-opening to me because I had been really struggling with discipline. And I kind of have a mixed bag with discipline because I was a gymnast for a long time. And so I was disciplined. It's like I had PTSD from being too disciplined because we never really had breaks. We went year around. We literally had 2 weeks off, but we would go year around. And then when summer hit and we were out of school, our practices got even longer. I never really had breaks. And so I think that as a result, I had this rebellion against discipline, to be honest. But now I'm learning about being disciplined and consistent with breaks, with downtime. And that's actually how it can work. So over time, I started to build trust with myself. And so you might not be at that place right now, but if you can implement these other things that I'm saying and even challenge yourself for a short amount of time, like 30 days, 30 days, I'm going to be consistent within this 30 days, taking breaks, realizing life happens, making yourself a schedule, carving out time, but at least for these 30 days, you're going to be consistent. It will do wonders for your self trust. I really feel like that's huge. It's something I definitely lean on when I'm doing a new project. I can look back and say, well, I know that I can complete a film and I know that I can get people into the theater. So I've done it before. So even though I'm scared, nervous, frustrated now, and I can't see my way, it's okay because I've done it before. And so that's what self trust does for you. So I'd encourage you, just know it's a process to build that up for yourself, just like trusting a friend or trusting somebody else. It takes time to build that up, but it's just consistent behavior. And when you can do that for yourself, it will just add to your consistency. Those are the reasons why you're not being consistent. Just to review, you haven't carved out time in your schedule. You haven't planned out what you're going to do in that time to be productive. You don't trust the process enough, so you don't show up. You forgot to add in that life happens when you're creating your schedule. You need to remember that it's okay to plan days off and take breaks. This is how you actually stay consistent. You don't understand the creative process. And when you get frustrated, it's easy to fall off. But when you understand the creative process, which I have a whole video on, it can just help you move past those times that play with your mind and make you want to quit. You get too precious about everything and you're too hard on yourself and too judgmental when instead you need to practice metacognition and think about how you're thinking when resistance shows up and things like that. That's why we have this whole challenge, so you can build these tools and understand what's happening. And lastly, you don't trust yourself yet, but that's okay. You can build that trust with yourself. So I hope that these tips helped you out, that you can put them into practice and start being consistent. We're taking Christmas Eve off, Christmas Day off, the day after Christmas to recover. And then we have a few more days, and then I'll have a special guest I'm really excited to share with you. So, your assignment today, if you haven't done it, go on your schedule and carve out time for yourself. It's so important. If anything that you get out of this challenge is that you will carve out time consistently to work on this project. That means time to research, time to think, time to do whatever you need to do to get it done, and that you would have the tools to deal with the mindset blocks that can come up as a creative. So thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.